So, starting a new chapter today is chapter 9. I'm going to, for those of you online watching or end up watching online, I had printed notes, but I don't think I'm going to follow them. So if you didn't print them out, it's fine. I think I'm just going to do everything on notebook paper today. So a lot of the beginning, I'm just going to talk through, like, you don't need to write what's up there. Don't write anything until I tell you to. So why is there a court case in the first place? Like, why does someone go to court? They got accused of something. So someone thinks they did something. Someone thinks, is someone just going to be like, I have a hunch they did it, so I'm going to take them to court? They're not going to take them to court unless what? They think they have evidence, or they think they can show that they did do it. So that's the whole premise of where we're going. So the person who took the person to court is trying to prove that the defendant is what? Guilty. How do they do that? Which is kind of what we just talked about. With evidence. So they're trying to show that they have evidence that the person is guilty. The person that's taken to trial is considered to be what at the beginning of the trial? Innocent until proven guilty, right? So like when they walk in, it's kind of like how, I hate when people say this, they start out the year with 100, like Mayfield said that the other day, that's not true. But like here, it's like you're starting out empty. So like they're saying at first, when you walk in as innocent. So if the person like literally walks in and just says, I think they did it, and that's all they say, they're going to let the person go, right? All right? So that's, again, the premise that we're dealing with today. So what happens if there is enough strong evidence? Then they're going to convict them, they're going to be guilty. What happens if there's not enough evidence? They're still innocent, they're going to let them go. So if someone is convicted because there was enough evidence, if someone is not convicted, is that the same thing as saying that they're innocent? No. That's the same thing as saying what? There wasn't enough evidence. So that's the mentality of this whole chapter, is they're innocent until proven guilty. If we say they're innocent, that doesn't mean they really are innocent. That just means we didn't have enough evidence to say they're guilty. Like that's the whole premise of chapter 9. So here is where I want you to start writing. So just write null hypothesis. So null hypothesis is going to be like the initial state. Sometimes we call this a claim. And in the court example, it's the fact that they start out innocent. So the null hypothesis is kind of where we start, what they claim. So in general, with what we were talking about the court case, the alternative hypothesis is going to be talking about what aspect of the court case. So if the first one is the fact that they're innocent, alternative hypothesis is going to be, why did they go to court? Because they're trying to prove. So I'm just going to write this as what they're trying to prove. What they're trying to prove, what they have evidence of. So we'll say what they're showing evidence of. So this is the idea of trying to convict them. I have evidence to say that they're guilty, evidence to say they did this. That's what I'm talking about as my alternative hypothesis. So I can generally write this as my null hypothesis is innocent, the alternative hypothesis is guilty. If I have evidence, that means they leave as guilty. If I don't have enough good evidence, that means they leave as innocent. Like that's the whole purpose. All right, so this next slide is going to be strictly with symbols for null and alternative hypothesis. So I'm going to go away from context for a second. So our null hypothesis, let's write these here. Let's write, this is H sub 0. Now, people are going to call it HO, which then just in computation. The reason it's sub 0, 0 in German or something means null, or an empty set means null. And this one is H sub A. Now, different textbooks do alternative a little bit different. I think sometimes I write a lowercase a instead of capital A, but when I'm writing really small, trying to write that versus this looks kind of hard, even when I try to do the A like that. So I try to do them capital, but I think I have some notes where I still have it as I use the lowercase a. And then some textbooks call this one H sub 0 and this one H sub 1. Just if you ever see it different, it can technically be H sub 1. All right, so every time that we have a problem, we're going to have a null and alternative hypothesis. Now, for the context example, we just said kind of innocent up here, so we just use words. But let's say connect it to chapter 8. Chapter 8, we talked about two main topics. What were our two main topics? It was either what kind of problem or what kind of problem. Mean or proportion. So we're still going to be dealing with mean and proportions again. And it's going to be the parameter that we're talking about. So typically, if we're still dealing with means and proportions, what are our two options for proportions, or for parameters? If it's means, what's our parameter? So typically it's these. Now, is sigma a parameter? Is sigma a parameter? Yeah, so technically I can have one with sigma. We just, for our class, basically just deal with those two. Whatever your parameter is also written here. So being very blunt here, this is a parameter. So what symbol cannot go here? What are some symbols that couldn't go there? X bar, P hat, that type thing. Our claim is always equal, which I'll get into more later, but for right now, you just need to know claim is always equal. And then we're claiming it's equal to some number. So that's like our null, our innocent. This could be like person equals innocent. That's kind of the way we're thinking about this. So this would be person something. So if our claim is that it's equal and we want to prove against them, what are options that we can have for here as like directional? Like we don't think it's equal. We think it's, or we can just say we don't know, but we think they're wrong. So those are your three options that can go there. And however you want to write it, so you don't use all of them at once. You use this one, or this one. So null hypothesis is always equal. Alternative hypothesis, your three options are greater than, less than, not equal to. And then this is just the same number. So we can think about this just as simple as, I think I'm going to get a 90 on this test. And you look at me and say, I think you're going to get less than a 90 on this test. That's as simple as we can think about this. So this part should not be hard. You will definitely expect to see stuff like this on AP exam and my tests and my quizzes that just check this. So write down those three examples really quick, and then we're going to go through and talk about what's wrong, which shouldn't take, it should take you longer to write it down than it should be to talk about it. All right, so each one is a pair. So this is 3 examples, not 6. What's wrong with our first example? Those aren't parameters, those are statistics. So I can't use x bar there, can't use p hat there, can't use x there. What is wrong with the second one? Switched, this one must be equal, this one would be greater than or equal to, you can write it that way. What's wrong with the third one? So, like I said, expect to definitely see, and there aren't that many things that we can say, like hands down, you will see this on the AP exam, but this is one thing you will see on the AP exam. Like, you will see a multiple choice problem that goes through these and says which one's wrong, and which one's right, or which one's right, or which one's wrong, and have a bunch of different ones. Yeah.
So the alternative is not, I thought that was the sample parameter, like not a U or a U.
No, so, oh, it says same. That's my bad handwriting. Same parameter. So whatever you write as the first one, you also write as the second one. That's just my terrible handwriting. All right, I'm gonna split my video here.